If you were to go back to when you were in either high school or college, what is the best piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Study hard, do the athletic stuff, probably participate in a lot more activities than I did, because it'll help you get in college. And then, but basically study hard. A lot of people, young people, kind of blow off school and hate school and everything else and not really trying to learn, almost forced to learn.
Absolutely.
And so that would be the thing I would give them advice.
Absolutely.
I made good grades, but I didn't study, and that was not good.
Right, for sure. What is your best piece of advice for people who are starting out in the real world today?
Find a mentor, somebody that older than you has been through that, whatever you're trying to get into, and teach you how to get through those hard obstacles that are out there.
Absolutely. And what industry did you decide to pursue a career in?
31 years in the Army, and then I did 7 years with General Dynamics Land Systems as a senior vice president.
That's incredible. Wow, our dad was actually a West Point grad, and he did 30 years in the Army as well. So that's amazing.
I was an Aggie.
So I guess I'll ask you, what is the greatest lesson that you've learned throughout your lifetime? Or what is the greatest lesson that the military taught you?
Leadership. How to be a good leader, not a toxic leader. So, people, if they respect you and understand what you're trying to do, they'll follow you. But if you keep them in the dark and you don't tell them what's going on around them and why you're doing stuff, then you could end up, having some pretty rough times.
You started kind of like selling like canvases, and here's one of them. Elon Musk, a very renowned entrepreneur in today's world, and he's a big risk taker. What is the biggest risk that you've taken throughout your career?
So when I was senior vice president with General Dynamics, we committed to building this survivability platform for the Stryker vehicles and doing it in less than a year and a half, which is unprecedented. That's design through production and get it in the hands of soldiers in less than 18 months. We had to do a lot of things in parallel that normally the government wouldn't let you do, but the people that were in charge of testing trusted me, so we got over some big hurdles because of the contacts I had from the Army, but also just keeping people focused on making sure we got that timeline met.
From what you've seen in the business world, whether it's a certain skill set or attribute to have, how can someone become wealthy in 2022?
You get into an executive bonus situation so that on top of salary, you get bonus and you just accumulate your wealth. Don't go spending on every bell and whistle. Get out there and put away as much money as you possibly can into stocks, bonds, those kind of things, and just sock as much money as you can into that. Most people say 15% of your salary should go into savings while you're young, and that'll build quickly. It's a tough thing to explain to people if they don't see that money growing in a year or 2 years. But 5 years or 10 years, there's a lot of money in an account.
Just briefly, I was just going to follow up with something that you said. You had mentioned...
And don't go in the Army because you won't get rich.
You won't get rich in the Army, for sure. Getting to that senior or the executive position, what skill set or how did you get to that position? What was the thing that really took you there? What skill set or attribute do you think it takes to get to that position to obtain that type of bonus?
So my Army career was basically an acquisition. So that translated very closely to what I was doing with General Dynamics. The big issue there was they don't normally trust Army officers with profit and loss positions, but I had a good reputation with them, so they gave me a profit and loss position. So that means that's basically, you're putting your career on the line for taking on as much risk as you can to get the profit, but you also take a chance of getting a loss, and you'll bear the brunt of that in the bonus situation.
Right.
So I was fortunate that we were making a lot of money because of the war, and so I ended up with some pretty good-sized bonuses.
Absolutely.